But Jake, when did you actually break that habit, and how was that transition from kind of, okay, like Shayne was saying, you kind of got out of a routine that you were in for a long time. Was there a mental struggle at the beginning when you first went away from that habit?
Kind of as Shayne alluded to, it got to the point where if, some small little thing was off in my pregame routine, those negative thoughts would start to creep in, like, oh my gosh, I didn't start my shower at 7:30 a.m. this morning. Now I'm going to have a bad game. So it was actually this year that I, started to kind of stray away from it and just kind of went to more of like a relaxed, just normal morning, treat it kind of as any other morning and not making it this big, hyped up pre-game routine that, I used to have. So I feel like, at first it was a little weird and it was like, oh no, if I stray off my routine, am I going to struggle? But thankfully, this year I was on the practice squad in Chicago for a little bit, so I got some time to kind of, do a more relaxed morning routine without having to worry about playing a game that day. So that was kind of a good transition, going from the super, scheduled routine to just kind of more of a relaxed, chill, normal morning.
I was wondering if it coincided with the movement that you've had this year, because obviously you've bounced around a little bit, and I was curious if that was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna kind of ease my way into this. I'm going to lean into this and say, okay, I'm going to change up my routine in hopes to kind of have different results and kind of take some control back and say, hey, no, I've got control over this situation. I can do this. I can make a comeback. I can be a premier player at my position, and I know that, and you kind of then hone some of those things and change things up as you kind of see different circumstances.
Yeah, I think it helped me this year. Definitely did a few things. I changed my steps on my approach to the ball this year. Changed, my pregame routine up a little bit, just made it a little bit more relaxed. And, it's definitely a little scary going, especially in the NFL, changing things when stuff has been working for you. But that's all it is, really, is just trying to fine-tune things, tweak things, try to get that 1% better, whether it's with the actual kicking or with taking care of your body, your nutrition, all that good stuff. So it was definitely taking a little bit of a risk, but I feel like it paid off in the end.
Well, one thing I can tell you, obviously, how proud I've been of you over the years. I recruited Jake when I was a coach at Central Michigan, and he was at Northville High School. I recruited him. I don't know how close I came to getting him, but I thought I had a chance, but Michigan obviously got him, and it worked out well. But honestly, stayed in touch with him over the years. And, one thing I can say is that the experience I had, I thought I was on top of the world at one point, and all of a sudden the rug was pulled out from under me. I had to learn how to adapt. I had to learn how to create different file folders for different routines, for different situations, because situations aren't always going to be the same. I even took out my jab step. If you're not a kicker, you may not know what that means. I had a jab step in my kick, which is kind of like this little leading step where you just kind of lead with your front foot to kind of build your momentum a little bit. I took it out in the third game of the season, finished the season really strong. A lot of guys were like, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. I did it anyway. Finished the year really strong after doing that. And it was just a matter of how many times can I rep this movement to get it as flawless as I can on game day. I believe you did something similar.
Yep, I got rid of the jab step. I felt like it was getting a little bit inconsistent. Sometimes it would be 10 inches. Other times it would be maybe closer to 12 to 13 inches. Just in game time, you get a little bit excited.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of, got the juices flowing. So sometimes you take a little bit bigger of a step. And so I felt like, to kind of reduce any inconsistencies in my approach, might as well just take out the entire step, because I didn't need the extra momentum necessarily for distance or anything like that. So I felt like it would be beneficial in the long run to switch to being a two-step approach kicker.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, obviously, I could geek out on this all day. I won't do it.
Keep going.
I had a conversation a while back saying, hey, I'd like to get it a little smaller. It would create less of a lunge. Your hips won't sink as much in your initial approach, blah, blah, blah. We all have our comfort zones. We all have been doing things for such a long time. It's really hard to just change those things up. So whether that was, I remember you shortened it at one point, and then obviously you felt like you needed more, because when the adrenaline's pumping, sometimes we tend to step a little bit more instead of letting ourselves naturally fall forward. Taking that step out, I think, was a good move. I'm glad you were self-aware enough to do it, because I think it's definitely going to make you more consistent. Whether you feel like you need that extra momentum or not, okay, Jake has one of the strongest legs in the NFL. He's very, if you look at what TrackMan gives data on ball velocity when you hit the ball, trajectory, all that, most guys in the NFL average around 71, 72 miles per hour. Jake is up there in the 74 to 77 range, depending on, weather, ball, all that kind of stuff. But so the need for that extra strength, our mind will play tricks on us. And sometimes it's in a big situation. Sometimes it's a distance situation. Or it can play tricks on us when we feel it's a short situation, so we step a little softer, but we always want to make sure we're in the same tempo, the same movement. We don't do anything more or less. And I think getting rid of that little movement is going to be a good thing. And if you ever decide to bring it back, you almost can figure out a way to just lift it and put it back down in the same spot. That's kind of what I did, because I brought mine back at one point and finished my career with a jab step, but it was really just a lift of the foot and put it back down without really stepping forward. So that can always be something if you feel like you don't like the snap hold operation isn't quite as smooth as you like it. That's something that I did that gave me a little more confidence, that I felt like I could time up that operation a little bit better when I didn't have a ton of confidence in it.
Shayne, is that something where it kind of, that you guys were alluding to kind of the power exchange with that? I was going to mention that because Jake's always had a very good distance kick, clearly, even from kind of the layman perspective. But is that a bit of a trade between distance and accuracy? Are you hoping to gain some accuracy with kind of removing that jab step?
Well, it's a funny thing, because we talk about consistency in our alignment and our steps and certain things. And when you see these kickers walk backwards from the spot, step sideways, then they position their body a certain way, then they're set, they're ready to go, kind of like a batter getting in the batter's box. There's like a time when they're ready to go. That jab step, you have a fixed distance. You have from point A to point B, and it's usually within about a half an inch every time. Like, it's pretty dang close with guys who do a really good job of detail. Well, when you actually step harder, thinking that you're going to get more power, you're actually shortening your last two steps where the power actually comes from. So, so you're technically not even giving yourself the power you think you're giving, and you're shortening the movement that your body has to create this range of movement, trifecta of backswing, forward swing, and follow through. And trying to minimize as many pieces of those gears turning as possible is what creates the most efficient machine. I mean, there's a reason why a Swiss-made watch, if you open them up, and they're thousands and thousands of dollars, they have all these tiny little gears working inside of them. And then you get a watch that's a Timex or whatever, and it's like you open it, and there's like one circuit board and a little a digital quartz display. Which one actually keeps better time? The Timex.
Right.
Okay.
It doesn't have as many things that can go wrong.
It doesn't have as many things that can go wrong and have to keep moving and all of that kind of stuff. So when it comes to a very individualized, a golfer, a kicker, a punter, even a batter sometimes, you have to understand the most amount of moving parts I can take out of the equation, the least amount of mistakes I'm going to make in my movement. And I think Jake's done a great job of that, and will continue to as he learns more, experiences more, starts to get the feelings of the ups and the downs that were kind of new over these first couple years, and they're going to start becoming normal.
Well, we talk about that some on the show, Jake. Shayne talks about the growth versus peak mindset, and you're a guy that, I mean, you've excelled your entire life at this. You were very highly recruited, as Shayne mentioned. I am curious, I'm probably going to ask you that at some point about your recruiting process, but obviously you can't regret what happened at Michigan. That was a great career that you had there, and then drafted into the NFL, came in very highly touted. But as Shayne has mentioned, with his career and bounce around a little bit, you have to kind of learn different things, and it's a very mental game. And so it's got to be tough to adjust from, okay, yeah, I'm top of my position, top of my sport, top of everything, to, okay, I've got to tweak some things, but you started up top and clearly you're returning there. So I feel like you might end up even further ahead eventually because you learned some of those things in advance. And I'm getting nods from Shayne here that you'll advance yourself because you did hit a little bit of a challenge, but now you're rising above it.
Yeah. The first, few times I, faced some adversity in the NFL, it felt like the world was ending. It felt, unfamiliar. It was definitely a challenge and a struggle to try to navigate that and try to get through it. But looking back now, I think it was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me. Was facing some adversity, facing some struggles, and learning how to kind of dig yourself out of it. Because everybody's going to face it at some point in the NFL. There's no avoiding it. The so-called GOATs of kicking, and they've all hit ruts. They've all had bad games. It happens. So kind of being able to figure it out, for the first time, kind of navigate through that, and learning how to come out the other side better and not letting it, affect the next game or the next kick. I feel like that's a very valuable skill to have in the NFL, and it's probably the only skill that you can have if you want to survive, is to just learn how to move on, have that next kick mentality, kind of have more of a process over outcome mindset. And yeah, I feel like for me personally, the best thing that could have happened for my career was kind of hitting a few rough patches.
It's funny, a lot of people who talk about my career and they saw that I had a lot of years of success in Cincinnati and really didn't have a ton of failure. I did, but I had a lot of struggle to go to, not making a team, not being re-signed to a team, moving around here to there, here to there, here to there. I think those struggles ultimately shaped me to, one, thicken my skin so that I could handle more things, but also, it's kind of like when I train guys, and I have guys out on the field, and we're going to kick 25 field goals. First thing is, I don't let them start close and work their way back. I make them start backwards, start deep once they're warm, and then deep, short, middle, short, middle, deep, middle, short, middle, 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 deep, 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 middle. Like, I make it very random because that's what you're going to get in a game. So I don't believe in the full, like, start up close, work your way back thing. Another thing is, when it's your last kick, if you hit the upright and you miss it, or you miss it wide right, or you miss it wide left, you're done. There is no such thing as end on a make. I don't believe in that. I will actually call people out for it because I think that just tries to give guys this warm, fuzzy feeling that you think you're helping their confidence, But what you're doing is you're actually weakening them, because now they never learn to deal with walking off the field without those warm, fuzzy feelings. So when we get in a game and we miss a kick, we have to learn how to deal with that feeling. Or we have a bad game, we have to know how to deal with that feeling. And we don't have that opportunity to have somebody, oh, take one more. Let's end on a make. Take one more. Like, I always hate it when the head coach does that at the end of a field goal period during practice, because I'm like, no, well, I wouldn't say it if I was playing. I'd do whatever he asked me to do. But when I was coaching and the head coach would want that, I would wait till practice was over and say, Coach, every time you do that, you're enabling him to stay in the same position he's in. He'll never get better if you don't let him feel that feeling of walking off the field disappointed. You have to let him get over that feeling. And that's a big thing with me.
Well, they say practice like you play. That's a little different when you're a kicker, because practicing, it's not contact. You have to simulate game situations, and that's occurring to me in this conversation with you and Jake about how you're not insulated at all in all the other positions. If you play defensive tackle, offensive line,
you're
whatever,
insulated with repetition and multiple chances.
Exactly. You okay? Well, maybe you get demoted from a lead role, and then you're a backup, you're a rotation guy if you're not really hitting your mark. If you're a kicker, there's nowhere else to go. The teams don't usually carry two kickers unless there's an injury situation in the pros.
And practice squad has become a fairly new thing for kickers, because we didn't used to have that many roster spots, and COVID kind of made that a thing. So you see it a little bit more often now, but it used to be you were the starter or you were on the couch watching on TV.
It's got to be hard to stay ready. I know you were in that situation, Jake, where you were on the practice squad, as you mentioned. That had to help you kind of ease back in and be able to kind of stay ready rather than have to get ready.
Yeah, it was definitely nice. Like Shayne mentioned, it used to kind of be you're either on the couch or you're on the field on Sundays. So kind of being in that middle ground of, you're not necessarily playing on the Sunday, but you're still practicing with the team throughout the week. I kind of treated it as, a good time to actually work on technique stuff and, not be so worried about having to perform at a high level on the weekend. I was able to kind of do some swing tweaks, kind of work some stuff out without having to worry about, will this affect my performance on game days? So I feel like it was pretty helpful to kind of have that situation. Whereas if you're on the couch, you're totally disconnected from everything. It can be kind of tough once you're getting thrown back into the fire. But I feel like being on the practice squad was kind of that nice middle ground for me.
Well, that's why we like to do these segments, because I think the average fan looks at you guys and says, "Oh, well, they have it easy. They're highly paid. They're top of their field. They're top of their position." But I don't think people really dig far enough down to understand the adversity that goes into this, and the fact of how much you have to hone your minds, bodies, all of that to be able to achieve what you're doing. So we appreciate you coming on the show and kind of discussing that with us, and we're glad that you're able to get back. We'll be following you. All the Michigan fans are rooting for you here for sure. Shayne, do you have any final words of advice or encouragement for Jake here?
Well, I mean, we talk a good bit. I don't need to throw a whole lot at him, because he's heard a lot of what I've had to say. Now he's missed a lot because I don't spend a ton of time with him in his off seasons or anything like that. But I think, since day one, when I was watching his film and I was told, like, hey, take a look at this guy, and I'm like, oh, sure, let me take a look. Oh, okay. And then I think his first game of his senior year, he kicks a 58-yarder. Was it a 58 or a 60 in your first game?
57.
57.
58 came later on in the year.
Okay. And I'm like, we hadn't offered him yet. And I'm like, what are you waiting on? And they're like, well, we like to bring them in and let them prove themselves and earn. I'm like, listen, if you don't offer this guy, you know how dumb you're going to look if he goes somewhere. And even at that, The world of kicking is so crazy that you can be the best kicker in the world, but if a head coach doesn't physically see you do it, sometimes they just won't offer, and it creates a really weird dynamic of you have to be the best guy at their camp on that day, and it can work out really weird sometimes. But I know Jake is going to do amazing. He's got a long career ahead of him. He knows I'm a resource anytime he needs it, and I'm wishing you the best, brother. And just make sure that anything you need, always reach out to me, okay?
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Was he close to getting you? Was he close to getting you, Jake?
Yeah, believe it or not, I mean, no disrespect to Central Michigan, but, you're choosing between the University of Michigan and Central Michigan. It's, it seems like a no-brainer, but it was pretty much 50-50 at one point. Had Shane been able to guarantee he would stay there,
that's the thing.
For the 4 years that I'd be there, maybe I'd feel a little bit more comfortable. But in the end, I feel like I made the right decision. I grew up a Michigan fan, but he was definitely close to getting me to go there, and he was the main reason why I even considered it.
Well, given the points record and the Groza awards, I think he probably made a good decision, huh, Shane?
Yeah, I think it worked out well, and honestly, I'd have felt guilty if he'd have gone. Now, I know he would have done fine because we've all seen Hoosiers, okay? Goalposts are 10 feet high, uprights are 18 feet apart, a field's a field, right? He would have still been recognized as one of the best kickers in the country, if not the best either way. And who knows, maybe he would have transferred and gone, whatever would have happened. But, yeah, I was gone in a year. I went to Michigan State for 2 years, and then I was at Florida for 2 years. So, I wouldn't have even been his coach if he had come there.
And now you're still advising him, so that's great. And you got the relationship, and it's all working out. But thanks for joining the show, Jake. Really appreciate the conversation. We're rooting for you here, and we're looking forward to following your long career, as Shane mentioned.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Have a great time.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jake. Take care.